Eddie and Purple about to go head-to-head. Eddie not bringing a Warrior deck this week.
Bold.
Very bold, given that I personally believe Warrior's still the top class in the metagame. But I think that opinion's starting to shift, and it depends really who you're asking. I mean, when you see the Bring Shaman, Ban Shaman strategies, you really get an idea of what people think about that deck. Specifically Purple with the Shaman split. The OTK Paladin bring the Protect from Eddie. Does he really believe in the power of this deck or what?
He does. And it's going to be a tough first matchup for him, as we'll see in a second. But it's the pretty standard version of the Holy Wrath Paladin now. They have cut a little bit of the board-wide removal, like Shrink Ray and Equality, in order to make room for Zephyrus and Soup Vendor, you know, the key cards. But this is one of the tougher matchups. Purple is playing the Control Warrior. Now, I don't think this matchup is as tough as Bomb Warrior, but the one thing that this matchup does have going for it is that it can gain a ton of armor, and the Eternium Rover start is kind of a nod to that. It is tough, especially with Zephyrus, to get out of the range now. So I do think this matchup has gotten a lot better for the Paladin because they have access to effectively Tyrion. Which means that outside of weapon removal, you're going to have 15 extra points of damage at some point in the game.
Yep, that's why you can see the early armor up from Purple instead of valuing that tempo is important to him. Being able to get that armor count is really important.
Yeah, and this buffed up Eternium Rover is going to be the bane of Eddie's existence. I think the critical armor total has moved from 50 to like 60 something.
This place is scary.
I don't think it's exactly 65 because I don't think every weapon swing is going to move into.
I mean, it can go beyond that too. There's a True Sword champion.
There is.
So it does depend, but you know, the 50 life total is very hard to overcome. Sorry, if you go above 50, it's already hard to overcome by itself. The Zephyrus is there to really get you over the hump. And then for Purple's end, having his Eternium Rover survive or any ways to gain armor through the Scrap Hound, for example, would be huge.
Yeah, and Purple's just gonna spend his mana each turn and press the armor up button.
Yeah, it's like a Freeze Mage versus Control Warrior matchup, to be honest.
Yeah, a little better for Paladin than it was for Freeze Mage back in the day, I think.
Sure.
Freeze Mage had a much more limited amount of damage that came in like a pretty long amount of time. Like if you assembled enough armor, it would take them like 5 turns of damage to kill you. Whereas Paladin can do it 50 back-to-back in 2 turns. Or even like 58 back-to-back in 2 turns with True Super Champion. So I think that the Paladin also draws through its deck a little bit quicker. Crystology is a heck of a card, man.
Yeah, I was playing against a Paladin deck that would
the Mech Paladin.
Yeah, Crystology, Coin Crystology. I'm like, oh, it's a Holy Wrath Paladin. Like, wait, no, it's a Mech Paladin. I don't know why you would Coin Crystology if you were
with Galvanizer.
Yeah, but he galvanized and
Move quickly.
Magnetized, and he brutalized me.
I wonder.
It happens. It happens a lot. Eddie, with a moment of hesitation, really roping out, thinking how he wants to map out his hand space. If he wanted to go for maximum clear, he could just consecrate, but I think that's fairly important to hold on to as a board clear opportunity.
And Purple's got a game plan, and he's sticking with it.
Yep.
Like to see it.
Yeah, and you know, these kinds of situations are what Purple likes to play, which is the big, giant macro plans and be able to see 20 turns in advance what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then shift his game plan accordingly. It's something that he actually takes pride in specifically. He says he's really bad at other stuff. But one thing that he's really good at is end-of-game fatigue scenarios.
Yeah, there was one game that specifically stood out in my mind, and I don't remember enough details about it to really be worthwhile. but it was at the Summer Championship at the end of 2017, where Purple fatigued a control mage, like the control mage style back then, with a shaman, which was like unheard of considering that he still had so many threats left in his deck. It was a crazy situation. I don't even remember who he was playing against. I think it wasn't Tom, was it?
2017?
Yeah.
It might have been. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna look it up just to.
I remember him and Tom. I think it might have been because it was that series where it was a counterspell versus the Ultimate Infestation, right?
Oh yeah, that was in a different game in that series, but
Okay.
it was the same series. That series had a lot of memorable moments.
Fun stuff.
And it really made me have a lot more respect for Purple.
Yeah, before TJ didn't respect him at all.
No, I respected him a lot, and after that, I thought he was just an absolute Hearthstone god.
He hated Purple.
I hated him.
Yeah.
I've always liked Purple. He's an eccentric person.
He was more of an orange fan.
Yeah, and one of the things that stood out to me the most about Purple was that he's just chill. Because, so I went and cast...
TJ hates chill.
So I had a string of like a month and a half where I was nonstop traveling, and you actually traveled with me a portion of this time. I went to Seed Story Cup and cast at Seed Story Cup, and then we flew immediately to China to cast the opening of the One Night in Karazhan event in China.
Great event.
Great event.
Yeah.
We spent 3 days there to do 30 minutes of work, but otherwise in that great event.
We got to see China react to Knights of the Frozen or One Night in Karazhan.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. But at Seed Story Cup, I got there so late because I had been doing so much traveling that the hotels in Krefeld, Germany, where the Take TV studios were, they just didn't have anybody to check you into a hotel after 8 p.m.
Yeah, it turns out Purple owned the hotels.
No, he had a room with an extra bed, and he overheard me going through this conundrum because I was going to sleep at the studios at night. He said, "Hey, come over and sleep in the extra bed in my hotel room." It was a very friendly gesture.
And he filled the bed with dust mites.
That's why I don't respect him. What was weird is that I woke up many times throughout the night, and Purple was intermittently there or not there. I woke up at like 2 a.m., Purple wasn't there. I woke up at 4 a.m., he was there. Then I woke up at 5:30 a.m., he wasn't there. Then I woke up at 7 a.m., and he was there. It was the weirdest thing.
Do you see Purple right
now? Yeah, he's right there on my screen.
Okay, I'm going to ask it in an hour.
And the answer will be yes. Because this matchup takes a while.
Yeah, it might look like Purple is close to killing Eddie, but it really isn't super close given that Eddie can heal a lot. He did use Crystal Smith Kangor. Also, as much as this matchup might go for a while, it's been pretty fast play from Purple. He hasn't been really roping.
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah, it was the, sorry to go back to another point, but the quarterfinals between Tom and Purple, Tom 60229 and Purple in the 2017 Summer Championship, the quarterfinals. A lot of memorable moments in that series. So if you are really passionate about Hearthstone and love to go back and watch things from the olden days to relive some of those moments, I would highly encourage you to do that. Because that was one of my favorite series of all time. Right up there with Amnesiac versus Pavel at the 2016 World Championship.
Reporting for duty.
Right up there with Frozen versus Sinto at the 2017 World Championship.
This place is scary.
Very good times.
Amani Warbear, Fierce and Living Monument. Purple wants the hero power. He's very quickly approaching that 50 count.
And has reached it.
Yeah, and now Eddie also, he had an opportunity to draw cards, but chose not to with the second Flash of Light. This is one thing that Eddie has to recognize is he needs to time for actual weapon swings. So if he draws too many cards too fast, he's going to take excessive fatigue damage and not have enough turns to swing with Tyrion's Ashbringer. So he actually has to stop drawing cards, despite the fact that drawing cards is one of the only things that his deck does well.
Yeah, another thing to keep in mind, if he plays Zephyrus and Tyrion, He will.
He dies.
I don't think he dies. It's just
Feels
weird.
close.
I think he'd be one off, because he has a 9 attack Zilliax in hand that can magnetize onto the Eternium Rover, and the Tyrion would have Divine Shield, which he'd want to take off with Warpath. But then that would kill off his Restless Mummy, which would not allow him to actually fully get through. And if he kills off with Fright and Flunky and then goes to the Tyrion's Restless Mummy, he'd be 1 damage off.
Oh, he is drawing.
Wow.
Okay.
Once there was only a spell up in the deck, there wasn't a minion. So Prismatic Lens is just 4 mana, draw the last or one of the last spells in your deck.
Well, one thing to consider too, and I think this is somewhat obscured by the spectator, is that he wants to get Shirvala's mana cost down to 0.
Yes.
So investing into that is also not a bad thing. But yeah, now this is the Tyrion setup, although this looks like you die if you
Oh yeah.
play Tyrion.
Oh yeah, you're dead.
So without that second timeout, Eddie's in big trouble. He could play the Zephyrs now and then just do other stuff like Flash of Light.
But you don't have the taunt.
So the order goes like this: you want to get the Tyrion, then you want to play the Shirvala double Baleful Banker.
It won't give Tyrion right now.
Let me think.
Will it?
Oh, give Twisting Nether, heal,
No, it might.
and Tyrion. I think.
It
I
might.
think it'll offer one of the 3.
I must move quickly. Your wish is my suggestion.
It might give. Oh, it did give Tyrion. Okay, I was thinking Twisting Nether Brawl, and then I was thinking a heal, because he's at 12. But okay, now a heal.
He's bored. But Purple still has the reload. Team board, and also Purple doesn't have to worry about Ashbringer anymore.
Yeah. Does have to worry about like Hammer of Wrath and yeah, that's pretty much like the only direct damage. Pretty much to win this matchup, you need to ship every single point of damage you have available to you face. And he did have a True Silver Champion left in his deck, but
Let's stash that away.
By the holy light! I'm almost out of cards. Was an error.
TJ, Eddie just threw the game. I mean, he already had a very low chance to win, but yeah, that was bad. What is going on with Americas today?
I don't
Step
know.
it up, people.
I mean, maybe that was an
Come on!
Maybe that was an elaborate concede. Like he's like, I'm never getting there because he has no way to get to the Tomb Wardens. He has no way to deal the extra 4 damage.
I am ashamed.
He has a Holy Light, but then he just armors up, or not a Holy Light, Hammer.
I mean, you're right in the sense that we were talking about, like, he has a very low chance to win from that position.
Oh yes.
And it could be just a very elaborate way to concede, but jeez, at least like just concede. Don't be like, "Ha, joke's on you. I was just acting stupid." It's like, no, you're an idiot. Anyways, we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna cool down. When we come back, more Hearthstone action here from the Hearthstone Grandmasters of the Europe region.
Shadows are rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tomb, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There's surely scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. How states think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save.
My name is James Kostasich. My handle is Firebat. My username is based off the StarCraft player Firebat Hero. I was a fan of him and watched him on Twitch early on in his career, and then just named myself Firebat because I thought it was cool. Something about me that people don't know, I really hate spending money. I try and save it whenever I can. I recently learned how to repair a dishwasher so that I didn't have to buy a new dishwasher. I like doing stuff like that. I get a really good sense of accomplishment and pride whenever I'm able to salvage something. My favorite Hearthstone Esports memory is winning the 2014 World Championship. That one's pretty tough to beat, but I'm hoping that one day I can beat that memory. Being in Grandmasters, to me, means that I get another chance to prove myself and show that 2014 wasn't a fluke and that I am still here to play. I mean, I love playing against my own region because I get to play against a lot of my friends, which is always like really fun and entertaining, and there's so many different mind games. But at the same time, I'd really love to play against Europe and really knock them down a few pegs because they're so cocky all the time. I look forward to winning the most and losing the least. I definitely don't want to lose, and I definitely want to win, so it's really simple.
Mazahidul Islam. I go by Muzzy in game. My username, as you know, my first name is Mazahidul. It's kind of difficult to say for some people, and every time someone calls you, they're gonna have to say, "Hey, Mazahidul." That's long, and you don't want to say that. My friend gave me a nickname, like, "Hey Muzz, hey Muzzy." So I sort of just took that, and my name's Muzzy. I took a look at the list of players. Some of them have been more focused on streaming, I would say, in these past few years. I've participated at the highest levels of competition that they might not have appeared in. I'm the player to beat in my group, for sure. The thing that I most look forward to about competing in Grandmasters is the thrill of competition. It's really why I play Hearthstone. It's what I've enjoyed doing for the past 3-4 years, and it's what I'll continue to enjoy doing, hopefully. I think Hearthstone Instinct is definitely my greatest skill set. I think that if I took a break for a while and didn't play the game and came back to new cards, I think I could pilot a new deck fairly well, fairly quickly. People would always mention the term burnout to me. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I didn't know what it was. I would constantly play Hearthstone all the time. I definitely want to have more titles and put my name in Hearthstone history.
Currently in the middle of a series between Eddie and Purple. Purple cruises to a Game 1 victory, but Eddie, it's a tough matchup, Warrior versus the Paladin. Some people were very jokingly saying, imagine thinking Paladin is unfavored versus Warrior, but when your opponent plays like that and the Paladin tends to have things like True Silver, not really connect phase, and not be able to have that opportunity to play the Tyrion, things tend to get pretty awkward in the late game for the OTK Paladin. Let's go ahead and go into game number 2 here. And I wonder if Eddie's strategy of not bringing Warriors ultimately causing himself to pick things like this. He knows that he's probably going to lose the Warrior matchups. Instead, he's going to focus on beating the other 2 decks, Shaman and Warlock, with his Paladin, and maybe with his Druid.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily like it because Warrior is kind of a necessary evil in the metagame currently, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, people look at Warrior and think, if this class didn't exist, imagine how many cool things I can do with my deck. And I want to say that if Warrior didn't exist, the meta would be pretty degenerate right now.
Yeah.
Of just like all out, not respecting removal and just go and face everything.
Yeah, there's actually a ton of very, very good aggressive cards in the metagame right now that are being kept in check by Warriors.
Yes, they keep them honest.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it's kind of a good thing in the long run.
It gives them, and first of all, it makes them slow down and think about what they have to play. But secondly, it's because then it becomes this like who can cheese the other player first, like the tip the scales Murloc Paladins or Bloodsworn Mercenary with like the Rampage Inner Rage combos, right?
It'd be a very bizarre world out there.
Yeah, or like I just drew my Murlocs and I drew Hungry Crab. Remember that Tavern Brawl we were talking about where like every game ended by turn 4 because it was just like non-stop ridiculous early game board aggression?
Yeah.
It'd be a lot like that. That being said, this is Quest Shaman going up against the OTK Paladin, so this is something we anticipated. I think Eddie was resigned to the fate that he probably would lose against the Warrior.
Whoa!
I like this play from Purple. I think that as the Shaman player, you need to be aggressive against the OTK Paladin, because if you're not aggressive enough, they're going to draw too many cards and clear all your board. And Shaman is often limited by their ability to burst.
Yeah.
So I think that you need to just play very aggressive and try to see if you can use the burst to finish the game. Otherwise, you're never going to truly threaten them, and they can always just play disrespectfully to your board. I like this. Yeah, and I want a former champ next turn, too. Just want to put on most pressure possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good pressure hand, I suppose, outside of the novice engineers, but that's why he's opting to play these last. He wants to stick his big threats first and then hope that the novice engineers can find him. Yeah. Crystal Smith Kangor presents an awkward kind of must-remove target on the board, considering his aggressive game plan early on.
Yeah, not a big deal. You can just former champ right after.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of yourself like you get to curve out, and your reward for playing things on curve is to start using all of your late game stuff to cash in and draw cards.
Yep.
Like, Novice Engineer should really be used as, like, you know, the final ways to draw into lethal as opposed to finishing your quest. Your quest isn't what's important here. It's about your early game board aggression.
At least in this matchup.
In this matchup, yes. Awkward draw here for Eddie, and that's exactly what Purple's looking for.
Yeah, no card draw pretty much whatsoever outside of Holy Wrath.
Ooh.
Right on time.
Yeah, now the Faceless Lackey allows Purple to double Novice here. Actually, no, it doesn't. That's, what am I kidding? 4 mana versus 5 mana. In this case, I wonder if Purple wants to drop the Evil Totem and save the hero, and like just invest now into the Evil Totem so that way he can get the Lackey to battle card next turn.
Yeah.
The reason why you wouldn't want to is to use the Evil Totem post removal so you can get more than one Lackey. But given that you have 2 Novice Engineers, oh wow. Given that you have 2 Novice Engineers, I think this feels fairly fine to go for.
Yeah.
No Pyromancer with this equality. Eddie might have to time out here in this spot, but he doesn't get to do anything with the timeout.
Yeah, that's the problem. He'd want to like Prismatic Lens with the timeout.
Okay. Oh wow, I'm also starting to realize how nutty the Vicious Scraphound is too. Forces a reaction out of Eddie.
Yeah, just a little bit of armor can sometimes make the difference, because if you look at Eddie's ways to deal damage, he's used True Silver Champion. He's got Consecrations and Hammer of Wrath, but if Purple times his Life Drinkers right, he may force Eddie to have the double Holy Wrath in order to kill him.
Let me
And
think.
the Vicious Scraphound exacerbates that issue. And it also makes Eddie's turns a little bit less flexible, because in matchups where he knows that he only needs 1 Holy Wrath, he can play the Cheval and Belful Banker early on in the game to kind of stabilize on a board state where he may not have the opportunity to do so this game.
Purple is 4 damage off.
I hope you like my invention.
Wow.
I hope you like my
Drawing a
invention.
bunch of cards.
Wow.
Mutate. I don't know if he actually wants to mutate this. Doesn't find any more Cobalt Lackeys, but still very aggressive play here. And like we're talking about, seeing the double Novice Engineers to fill your hand with the cards that you need afterwards.
And
now Eddie needs to deal with this.
And he's only adding cards that have already generated value onto the board. He's saying, you didn't deal with this last turn. I'm just going to keep it the same, but create a ton of additional problems for you by drawing all these cards that are potentially damage.
So I wonder if Eddie is okay
Let
with
me think.
playing Shrink Ray and then passing.
That's 7 damage.
It is 7 damage, but your opponent can't play anything from what you know. And you don't have to use timeout. And you get to use Shrink Ray and then play Consecration next turn and develop right afterwards. But the thing is,
You'd have to play timeout
you'd have to play timeout.
on the following turn. So you Consecration, timeout, and try and draw some cards.
I must move quickly.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Shrink Ray, don't do anything. Novice Engineer timeout next turn and then timeout again afterwards. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, purple mutates here, most likely. Not to dump a card, or he doesn't want to lose a card necessarily.
Master of Magics.
Just wanted to make sure that he didn't mutate a 1-drop. The potential Doomsayer.
Yes.
So now we're back to square one.
Purple has a lot of damage to the double life trigger next turn. Armor
Oh my goodness.
with a full board? That thing's gonna generate a lot of armor. Ancestral Spirit on the Armor Smith. Are you serious right now?
And Soul of the Murloc.
And Soul of the Murloc. You know what? Soul of the
No, no.
Murloc, though. You don't want to actually have too many 1/1s because you want to actually kill him with board space. Yeah, Rock Biter.
Just damage.
I want a Titanic Lackey with his Armor Smith too. Just give it maximum life.
Engaging TC-130 into
fine.
dislocator.
Eddie's in big trub.
He still has 13 cards left in his deck.
Yeah.
He is nowhere.
That's why
Here.
that's why I wanted to hold on to the timeouts if possible. You know, and maybe
Yeah.
like find an opportunity to like if you used the Shrink Ray, you would have saw what was happening with the timeout turn, except he would have dealt 7 damage. And I get that dealing 7 is still relevant,
One shot.
but you have a little bit more mana to play with and then timeout. Also, it might come down to the point where Eddie might have to Holy Wrath timeout, hope that he draws Shirvala, and then go for like the Shirvala Baleful Banker play. And then Holy Wrath again. It's like a very, very, very low chance to win, but right now his chances are looking slim to 0.
How about some armor?
Yeah. What do you think about Giggling Inventors? Divine Shield minions that get hit don't give you one.
Oh no. Then why would you ever play Giggling Adventure in this?
Oh, you could Witchy Lackey afterwards. So I think you do this, you
Yeah.
Hero Power, and then you Witchy Lackey.
Yeah, for 9-drop. Whoa.
I mean, he doesn't have to.
He wants board space. He wants a board space open.
Fair
Actually,
enough.
I don't know if that matters, honestly.
Oh
Oh, no, it does,
it
because
does.
there's only 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage represented on board. If he got, it would have been a 9-drop.
Let me think.
No, every 9-drop would have set up lethal, wouldn't it have?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't out into a heal. I think he has enough damage from hand, though, to be
I
able to get it
hope you
done.
like my invention.
Looking for Wild Pyromancer, but that's not going to be enough. Purple has 12 damage to the Life Drinkers and the Hero Powers from hand.
So Flash of Light, Shrink Ray.
Let's move
6
quickly.
power on board, plus 12. 18, he'd be at 19. What can you reasonably play around? I think he's got to take a risk here, so... Seems like Shrink Ray plus Flash of Light.
Yep. Okay, this does similar things to Shrink Ray. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 3,
That's exact.
plus, should be enough to end the game here.
Yeah.
Purple is just going to clean this up. Gets a little bit extra damage through the Cobalt Lackey and the Rock Biter.
He actually would have had lethal through the Shrink Ray. I don't know, he wouldn't have had board space? No,
maybe.
He would have been one off, I think, actually, because he would have had to trade 1 minute in to allow more space as well. I don't know, it's hard to say. Can't even remember the board state now, but Purple takes a 2-0 victory over Eddie, giving him his first loss of Grandmasters.
Purple, very quick series and just good planning overall. I think this felt like Purple understanding the macro lines and Eddie playing a deck that is very honestly easy to misplay.
Yes.
I don't know how many steps along the way in game 2 that I can just clearly say that was a mistake, but I think that he had options, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And in game number 2, it had to be something that I have to look at a little bit more because I see Purple's hand and therefore it's biased for everything that I want to say. If you go back and replay that game without that information of Purple's hand, I'm sure Eddie probably would be playing fairly similarly, but we'll end up seeing if that's the case in hindsight. In the meantime, let's go ahead and check in with Purple for a brief interview. Purple, you there?
Yeah, what's up, dudes?
Nothing much. So now that you're going up against Eddie this week, Eddie not bringing a warrior. In your opinion, is it a mistake to not bring warrior, or do you respect the call that Eddie made?
I have no idea. I don't think anyone has any idea. So, like, it wasn't bad because, like, there was this little zoo meta going on in NA. So, Warrior was good, but, like, maybe he wasn't expecting that little zoo pocket to show up, and maybe then Warrior's bad. But I actually thought zoo was a great idea. So I thought Warrior was good because I'm generally not that smart. So if I have an idea, everyone else has that idea too.
Okay, got it. Purple thinks he's dumb. All right.
And thinks everybody else is dumb. They're going to think the same way as
well,
him.
everyone except Eddie is dumb.
No, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, he needs to get on our level. He's just outsmarting himself at this
He's
point.
outsmarting himself.
Fair enough. How do you feel about OTK Paladin's role? It seemed like Eddie, protected it, played 2 games, lost 2 games. Do you think that series wasn't representative of how that deck actually performs?
I have no idea. When I play that deck, I lose every single game with it, and then I watch Firebat stream it, and he froze in a Nat Pagel in his deck, and he's still winning every game. And I just don't understand. People who are good at that deck are really good at that deck, and they win. And people who are not good at that deck just lose. So I think Eddie's good with the deck, and I think Bat's good with the deck, and I think they can win with it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm in camp stupid and camp no TK Paladin.
That's what he wants us to think.
Yeah.
Next week it's
next
TK
week
Paladin protect
4-0 week with OTK Paladin.
Oh, not even possible.
Not even possible because we're not in specialists anymore. Yeah. It looks like I'm also in the stupid camp.
TJ was talking about your series a lot with Tom60229 back in 2017 when you two were playing in the championships and having a good time. And TJ said it was one of his favorite series in competitive Hearthstone history. Is that the same for you, Purple? Is that a series that stands out to you in memory?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to battle Tom again. Playing with him was super fun, and I like playing against people on this stage that are expressive and that you can have a poker game with while you're up there. And it's obviously it's just not the same for me competing online than competing in stage. But I know, like, we can't fly everyone out for Grandmasters every weekend. That would be ridiculous. But it's so nice to compete in person. Just look someone in the eyes and just stare deep into their soul.
Yeah, and
kind of try to yell through the white noise and see what happens.
See how long it takes before they escort you off stage. Just yelling nonstop.
We're gonna have to wait for I guess the World Championship to do that again.
Yeah, that's true. If you're able to keep this up. Looking ahead, you also have a match, tomorrow? Or no, actually you played. You finished up the week.
Well,
you played Gallon tomorrow.
But it's Gallon, so
Gallon
let's not even talk about that. It's Gallon, come on. That guy lost 50K in one tournament match once. Like, how do I lose to that?
Yikes. All right. Gallon does watch all of Grandmasters, and I'm sure you'll be getting some Discord messages momentarily for it. But thanks so much for joining us, Purple. Good luck in your match against Gallon. Not that you'll need it.
Have a great rest of the guest.